Oh, hello, everyone, and welcome. Because today we are continuing with our incredible series on fasting or feasting or feasting and fastings. So, what we're going to be looking at today is the physiology of fasting and also a little bit on the physiology of feasting. And next week, we have a special guest who will be really taking us deeper into the physiology of fasting. So, what exactly do we mean when we say fasting? There's so many different ways that people think fasting is done. So, we have what's now called intermittent fasting, to dry fasting, to fasting with water. I hear a lot of people speaking about juice fasting. However, if you're juicing, you're not fasting at all. What you're doing maybe is fasting from solid food. But when you juice, you're getting way much more ingredients than if you were to eat it. So you actually are almost overloading your system with nutrients. If you're really having a lot of juices all day. And that is not fasting. That is either a juice cleanse or a juice feast. And it's wonderful to have juice feasts. In fact, I highly recommend. However, let's look at the topic of today, which is in part the physiology of fasting. So I'm going to
Water
put this.
fasting consists of drinking only clean water and not eating any foods. There are four stages the body goes under when you eat no foods and only drink purified water. Of course, this depends on how long you are going to fast for. The first stage consists of when the body is being without food for 6+ hours and it starts running out of glucose from our food source, such as carbs and other sugars that we eat on a regular basis. At this point, our muscles, heart, liver, and other vital organs will rely on fatty acids for energy. But the brain still needs that glucose for energy. Instead of getting glucose from our food, the brain will get glucose from our body's stored protein in a process called gluconeogenesis, which does create glucose from our amino acids so the brain can continue to receive glucose for energy. Now, the second stage is when your body has fast past the 22 hours and no longer has the glycogen stores. The brain knows this and will switch to a stage where it spares protein in the body and moves to ketosis. In this stage, insulin levels are low, which is a good thing because insulin is what helps store the fat in the body, which we, of course, we like to minimize that. When insulin and glucose levels are low, it causes the liver to send a message saying, "I'm low on glycogen," which in response the pancreas produces a molecule called glucagon. Now, glucagon will activate the enzyme lipase in our fatty tissue, which this does cause lipolysis or splitting of fat, which breaks the backbone of triglycerides into fatty acids and glycerol, which is then carried into the bloodstream by albumin. The fatty acids are then utilized by the muscles, heart, bones, and other organs for fuel. And some of the fatty acids are converted into ketone bodies, which is then used for energy for our brain. The glycerol backbone is converted into glucose and used for more energy for the brain. Even though the body is utilizing the biochemistry process of ketosis for energy, it still needs small amounts of real glucose, which it will get from non-essential proteins such as breaking down old scar tissue, worn out cells, and non-malignant growths. The third stage is called the compensated ketoacidosis, which is a complete shift of the body breaking down fat tissue. The brain no longer uses glucose at all, only uses ketones, which are broken down from fat storage. This process begins around about roughly 7 days of water fasting and continues until the person stops the fast. Fat loss can be as high as half pound to a pound of pure fat a day. Wow. The fourth stage is the danger stage. This is known as the starvation stage because the body has run out of non-essential proteins to use as glucose for the brain. And we'll go back to our vital organs to get proteins to convert into glucose for the brain. This puts your body in a state of complete breakdown of the body and happens for most people around 30 to 40 days of water fasting, depending on the amount of fat stores and muscle mass on an individual. For most people, I recommend my patients to just start with stage 1, which is fine on their own as long as they are not on serious medications or have serious illnesses. Stage 2, which is going past the 24 hours, I recommend that you need to be supervised by a medical physician, but that is where you will see the most health benefits. Stage 3 is when 7 days and beyond, you must be at least at a medical facility to be closely monitored. And stage 4, I never recommend. To find out about the benefits and how to do a proper water fast, subscribe to my channel so you can be alerted when those.
Okay, so there you see pretty much the basic understanding of what goes on in the body when we're fasting. I want to be very clear of what I mean by fasting. So at the beginning, I said that if you're drinking juices, that's not a fast. Now, I've got to add some more things to this. For me, fasting is not only about food. We are so overwhelmed in our lives with so much pressure from the external world of all the different timelines we have to meet. You've got to pay the taxes on time. You've got to get your license renewed on time. You've got to do this and this and this and this and that. And there's always somebody expecting something from you, whether you're a parent or a teacher or you're a sanitation worker. This society expects certain things of you as well as your family. Plus, you have expectations that you have kept since your childhood that you interpreted as necessary for you to even exist. So there are many things we have to fast from. We have to fast from the thoughts that inhibit or full blooming, the thoughts that hold us back from realizing the full truth of our own magnificence. We've got to fast from any music, any language that demeans us, that is derogatory, and that uses language of a very low level. We've got to fast from noise. Noise pollution is one of the most underlooked and unused issues in our time for healing. Noise pollution is huge. And you know that when you have a neighbor or you're on a plane and somebody is snoring, or if you live with somebody who snores, you know what noise pollution can do to you when you're wanting to sleep. There is so much of that. So what I do when I fast is I fast from everything. I do a digital fast. So no more cell phones, no more computers, no tablets, nothing of the sort. So for days, people do not hear from me or see me, but I hear from me. I am totally there for myself. Also, a lot of people think that when you're fasting, one cannot do any form of exercise. The body was made to move. So it depends on what you're doing. I highly recommend for myself that I do continue with all of my movement needs, especially mobility training. I will do sometimes some resistance training as well. I might even go for a run or a walk. So it's not, you can fast from food and still move a lot, but it depends on where you live, with whom you live, and all the conditions around the fast. But because I fast from EMF, electromagnetic frequencies, then I actually end up with more energy when I fast, a lot more energy. So I'm able to go running, you can go swimming. There's so much you can do. Just pay attention to the subtle changes in your body. What's incredible after day 3, though, is that these changes are no longer subtle. You begin to really see them. Now, let's talk about the other ways of fasting. There's the emotional fast. There's the mental fast. So it's important to fast from conflicts at that time, I think, because you don't want to rile up your physiology and start shutting down the natural processes of the body, which is the healing process of the body when we fast. So why is it important to realize that when we fast, there's a whole world we need to fast from? We need to fast from thoughts, from ideas, from certain images, from even memories that might have been haunting us. This is the time to do so if you're doing a food fast. Think of a fast as comprehensive, it's about all of your life. You're shutting off the things that no longer work for you or that rob your energy for a period of time until you can come back to a place of equilibrium where you can handle it all. So, fasting doesn't just mean from food. So, I want you to look at this. Why am I saying this? Because many times the rewards of fasting come after the fast, though from time to time, answers that we've been seeking our entire lives can come during the fast, or maybe we're just seeking just recently. And this is from Jen Franklin. Really, really like this one. So there are many reasons to fast and many benefits from fasting. So with the physiology of fasting, I just showed you the physical stuff that goes on, but there's also mental things that goes on as well. One of them was just what you just saw, what I just put up there, that you could actually end up getting answers. So you get more clarity, a tremendous amount of clarity from fasting. That's the part of fasting that I love the most, is how clear everything becomes. It's almost like I had, and this is also physical, by the way, that it's almost like I had film over my eyes and all of a sudden it's all cleared away and I can see without the fog. My hearing gets really improved. My taste buds, everything about my life just becomes enhanced. And it's almost like everything is now on a higher decibel. So the vibrational energies have really skyrocketed by the end of the fast. Now, why is it so important for us to really, if we want to be healthy, since this is about being healthy, to consider fasting? And to what do we do when we fast? It's important, if you've never fasted, to start gradually, and especially to work with somebody who does this for a living and with passion. And there are places, there are medical institutions and places where one can actually go for a fast and rest. And the team takes care of everything and they check your vitals all along, all the time. So there are places like this. Now, why do I think it's so important? Because fasting to me, just as Rumi says here, is the first principle of medicine. When you fast, just fast and see the strength of the spirit reveal itself. It's absolutely mind boggling how everyday life keeps us away from the deepest, most intimate parts of ourselves that we're so shut off from that we have not even realized that we lack that intimacy with ourselves, which, of course, is why we seek intimacy on the outside. That is a real problem. So that is why it's also important to fast. Now, I fast by myself. I do not fast with others around me because when I fast, I also do not speak. I fast from speaking. I fast from making noise. And I also do my best to fast from what I add to the world. In other words, I do my best not to pollute the world with more noise. So I fast in silence. I do not speak and I do not have on any electrical things. And I really shut the world out. But it's not because I'm trying to shut the world out. I go out a lot because I want to have the sun. I want to visit the moon and the stars and the plants and the trees. So I'm outdoors a lot, but I am not speaking. That's the only thing. And people can speak to me when I will just nod. And people have gotten you in my life have gotten used to the fact that every Saturday I fast, every Shabbat I fast, and that they know that on that day they will not hear back from me. I do not go out and do events on that day as a rule, and very often also I do not respond to people until a day or two after the fast, because if you go jump back into the life you had before immediately after the fast, it's amazing how quickly you get sucked back into it and you lose a lot of the benefits of the fast. What I would like to see people do when they fast is to take the fast with them. Take it as a way of really maintaining all the clarity and all of the enhanced presence of being that one experiences during a fast. So when we fast, we are saying that the cry of our souls is greater than the cry of our stomach. And this is from Tony Evans. And I really thank Tony Evans for this because this is such an important piece of information, I think. And this is the way I think we need to really look at what it is that we're fasting from and why it is that fasting is so incredibly recommended in all of the ancient philosophies, religions, and from way, way, way back before biblical days and before historical days. Remember, there was a time when we actually knew hunger. Now, there are people in this on this globe who still know hunger, but most of us do not even know hunger. I see fasting as the most beautiful time to have that experience of hunger. I do not experience hunger. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I fast every Saturday and my body is so used to it, but I don't experience hunger. My last fast was 2 weeks ago, maybe 10 days ago, and I was meant to fast for 3 days, ended up fasting for 4.5, only because I was never hungry and I fast instinctively and with my intuition. And so when I come off of it, it's also intuitively. And I can see we have some comments. I'm going to be coming to you in just a moment as well. Thank you for that. And I would like you to also, in the comments, let me know if you fasted, what are the highlights for you, and what are the low points for you as well. And we will start discussing that. But what for me, the reason why I really fast, and I want you to write down the reason why you fast or why you wish to, or why you wish to know about it. This is the reason why I really fast. It's the discipline of fasting. The discipline of fasting breaks you out of the world's routine. It is the most incredibly, one of the, to me, highest form of discipline that there is. Now, because I do it on a regular basis, it's easy for me. So I'm not going to say it's easy for everyone. And no, not at all. Now I'm going to go to the comments here. And it says, does cooking food convert the sulfur in the sulfur containing amino acids from organic sulfur into inorganic sulfur, making it harmful? That is from Ethan. And then I see Shannon Kyle is also here. I'm trying to bring up your, I don't know why I cannot bring up yours. Let me see if I can bring it up here. Shannon, I'm trying to bring up your comment, but it's not coming up. I'll try again afterwards. So let me address Ethan first. So Ethan, it depends on what you mean when you say containing amino acids, because remember, everything contains amino acids. Fruit contains amino acids. Now, regarding sulfur, we need sulfur, but only tiny amount of it. A lot of us have too much sulfur, and you can tell from the eyes. And you can, if you go to an iridologist, they can actually see the sulfur in your eyes very, very strongly. So, does cooking food convert the sulfur in the sulfur? This doesn't, I don't understand this. In the sulfur containing amino acids from inorganic sulfur into inorganic sulfur, making it harmful. So any overabundance of sulfur is harmful. So my understanding is you're asking if when you cook it, does it then convert the sulfur into an inorganic form, which makes it harmful? It depends on the method of cooking. There are many methods of cooking. There is, for example, the Japanese way. There is the Chinese way, there is the Indian way, there is the Western society, especially United States way. You know, when I first came to the United States, I was shocked at vegetables. I didn't recognize them on the plate. They were so overcooked. So I recommend steaming to most people. And the steamers that I recommend are usually the bamboo steamers, because then you get it at a point where things do not become toxic, where you're just about to, you can tell by the color of the food. Let's say you're steaming asparagus. Asparagus is a very strong, dark color, rich green color. If you oversteam it, it starts to lose that. And you can tell already that you've lost most of the nutrient value of that food. So it ought to be lightly steamed. The reason why I loved Asian cuisine so much was because they barely cook the food. It is always so al dente. In Italy, too, very al dente. So it all depends on the form that you're using for cooking. And let me just see if I can get Shannon's up here now. And I'm still not able to get Shannon's. I'll come back to that in a moment then. And hopefully, oh, here it is. It's coming up. Okay, Shannon says, I love that. No speaking or outsourcing our energy. Excellent. Very wonderful way that you phrased it here. No outsourcing of our energy. In fact, that is the time when we resource ourselves. That is the time when we go within. Just think about it. When we go to sleep, we're not really present. When we fast, we're forced to be present for ourselves. We're forced to hear our thoughts. We're forced to see all of the issues that rule us all along. Every single day we're forced to make decisions. Everything is a decision. You decide whether to come on this show or not today. You decide what you want to hear and what you don't want to hear. But there are also things that you really invest yourself in deciding. And sometimes you decide whether to walk to work, take a bus, take a car, take a train, whatever. And sometimes you decide, whether to eat a meal or not to eat, and what to put in the meal, and where to get the ingredients from, and whether to grow a garden, whether you prefer to start gardening, whether you want to grow microgreens and stop eating all these cruciferous vegetables that are just too hard to digest, and you want to start having the baby greens instead. And the beauty of growing a garden is that you get to touch the soil, and so you get all the B12 and you get all of the stuff that you need in your body that we're not getting from our food anymore. So when you grow your own garden, you're getting so much from it. Now, gardening is something I recommend to every client who works with me and wants to fast. I always recommend during the fast that they garden. Always. Why? Because it puts them back in touch with nature. It's so important to be in touch with nature. And I'm going to explain to you why. Because we need to create a symbiotic relationship with nature. And unfortunately, that relationship with nature has been one-sided. We take from nature. We're always taking from nature. There's no giving back. So we need to start creating a symbiotic relationship with nature. And that is one of the things we get from fasting, is that you begin to realize just how beautiful a tree is. You hear it chirp of a bird and you hear it differently for the first time, especially if you fast the way that I do, which is from all noise and internal combustion engine that we have inside revving up, which is called the digestive system. When that calms down, it's time to calm everything else down. So I also strongly suggest that people fast with water. I do. You should not be doing any kind of dry fasting unless you're under supervision. And I mean constant supervision, not just sometimes or every now and then. So one of the things Ethan asked, do you like juice fasting? I heard it's about 12 times faster for detox than raw vegan whole foods. Okay. Ethan, I'm so glad you asked this question, because I addressed this at the beginning, that when one juices, that is not a fast. When you juice, you're getting a lot more ingredients. You're flooding your body with a lot more ingredients than if you sat down and you just ate all those ingredients. That's not fast. That's feasting. I totally think people need to juice feast. That's feasting. When you're drinking juice, you're not fasting, because your body is getting a tremendous amount of nutrients in a highly absorbable form. And the digestive system does get a break from actually not having to process the digestion, the assimilation, and of course the excretion afterwards of the waste. So you're giving the body a break, but you're not fasting. The body is not fasting. You still have all of this internal combustion engine working on your behalf. It's working at a lower level, which is excellent and which is needed, which is why people who are too afraid to fast, I always put them on a juice feast. And I think people need to go on a juice feast, by the way, before they fast. I do this with all my clients. I put them on a juice feast for several days, depending on a whole set of circumstances. I customize it for each person. And so you need to also start fasting or feasting according to your intuition. And that is my whole idea when I work with myself and with clients, is to really fine-tune our intuition and our instinct, because all animals fast by instinct. You cannot get an animal to eat something if it doesn't want to. And yet we grew up in society where if a baby doesn't want to eat for half a day or whatever, people get really upset and they start wringing their hands and, oh my gosh, something is wrong. Yes, something might be wrong. The baby might have been overfed or might have taken in something it doesn't need. And fasting is the body's natural way of dealing with it and healing whatever is going on. So instead of rushing around trying to force feed the child, listen to the child. Just give it enough water. If you're breastfeeding and it doesn't want to breastfeed anymore, then just give it some water. So this is Ethan. So Ethan, I hope I answered your question. You said you heard that feasting, not fasting, is about 12 times faster for detox than raw vegan whole foods. Well, it depends on the person. Here's the problem. Most people are severely dehydrated, not just slightly dehydrated, but severely dehydrated. So somebody that's severely dehydrated will benefit tremendously from juice feasting. Very much, because what they're not just getting a lot of nutrients, which they didn't have before, but they're also getting the hydration, and the body needs that in order to detox. So of course, yes, it would be much for detoxification. Juice feasting is excellent, and much more so than a raw vegan whole foods diet. However, that's not fasting. Remember that. So it's different. You're still flooding your body with nutrients. And the body still has to work on some level, but the difference is that you would get to a level of health much quicker and easier with the juice feasting than you would eating the raw vegan whole foods, because most people do not masticate. They do not chew their food. The only place that sugars will break down is in the mouth. You have the ptyalin in the mouth to digest the sugars. And if you don't break it down in the mouth, except for maybe the pancreas, you don't have a chance afterwards of digesting it again. So it also depends, and if you're doing proper food combining, there's so many reasons why the juice feasting would be preferable if you want to detox right now and you don't know you should be eating just the raw vegan whole foods or not. So that's why I call this feasting or fasting, because we got to decide, do you think your body is ready for feasting or fasting? I'm going to tell you a story. So this is really interesting. So I know of somebody, this is not somebody I know personally. It's not a client, not a friend, not in my family, just somebody that I know of. And I was teaching about the digestive system and how long it takes for food to go through our bodies. Really important. Most diseases are caused from excess, that we eat too much, drink too much, put too much on our skin, and too much noise, too much, we talk too much, everything. We live life at a very high decibel where healing does not occur. It's too high, it's too frenzied. So when you start fasting, you start calming down the frenzy and you're getting away from the chaos internally and externally. So when we digest food, depending on what you ate and depending on what you ate it with, in other words, the food combinations, unless you're eating a mono diet, which is the perfect diet in my opinion, but not for everybody right away. But all children eat mono diets. Every child is a mono eater until it is forced into them to eat meals, which means other things included, not just one or two items. So what happens is that it overburdens the digestive system. So we have a lot of dental problems, a lot of oral disease, a lot of oral problems, and it comes from a lot of this. What I'm talking about comes from this. By the way, if you have dental problems and you fast, amazing the results. But we'll go back to that another time if you'd like to. So one of the things that I heard about this gentleman was that he, and this was in response to the fact that I'd done this workshop about the digestive system and how long it takes for food to move through. And that for most food, especially in the animal slaughterhouse industry, you really need to give up to 72 hours to digest your food. So why people eating 3 times a day when you need 72 hours to digest? So your body said it hasn't had time to digest even the first part in their stomach yet, and you're putting food in again. And then before that even can be digested, here comes a third meal. So I was talking about that, and that we need to wait until our body digests food. We would never get so many illnesses and diseases that we have, so much irritability, so much mental problems, so many emotional outbursts, so much rage filled behavior, if we just honored the physiology of our bodies. So, this gentleman found out he was extremely obese, and he had breakouts all over his skin, and he was having all these problems and gout and whatnot. And it was recommended to him that he fast. He wouldn't, and he couldn't. He just couldn't. It was just too difficult for him. Now, what I would have done with him, I would have checked myself into a fasting place and have them, assist me and be there with medical professionals. But in any case, what he did after studying fasting, and he went thoroughly into it. He really invested himself into research and researching. And then he came across the fact that the digestive system takes a long time to digest something. So what he started to do is he would eat a big meal, because he loved eating big meals. And he ate the entire thing and thoroughly enjoyed it. And then he fasted for 48 hours. He didn't eat for the next 2 days. He waited for his body to digest everything that he ate in that meal beforehand. He ended up releasing all the illnesses, all the sicknesses. He trimmed down. He was very obese, and it was gradual. It was gradually. Did not go through the highs and lows of fasting, because as soon as he was going into the third day, he would eat again another big meal. So he'd eat, let's say Monday, he would eat his big meal at lunchtime. Then he'd fast 2 days. Then he would eat another big meal. Then he'd fast another 2 days. And this was just what he did, no matter where he was going, what he was doing. Tremendous benefits he got. Do I recommend this to everyone? No, not at all. But it worked for him after he did his research. So it's the digestion that's most important. I see, Ethan, you just asked something else here. It supposedly changes ionic pressure in the GI tract. When I juice, especially with watermelon, I notice sulfur being purged out. Yes, yes. Maybe because of glutathione in the watermelon. Yes. Be careful with watermelon fasts. Most people with watermelon fasts, they throw it down their throat. They do not chew it. You need to chew your juices. You need to chew your soups. Very important, especially with all that sugar. That might also be one of the problems, Ethan, that you're not chewing your watermelon juice. Very important, everybody, that you learn to chew. This is one of the reasons why I put people on fast. So when they're coming off the fast, I use one thing at a time to teach them how to chew again. And we do this mindfulness exercise with chewing. I actually just finished doing a course that's going to be in the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle coming up as of next week, as of the 1st of May, sorry. And that course is where I teach people how to eat mindfully. And chew, it's everything: digestion, assimilation, and excretion starts in the mouth. But it starts even out before the mouth. It starts outside of the mouth, because you have to look at the food first. So your eyes are connected to your brain cells, and to you'll see that just by looking at something, your mouth starts salivating. Everything begins to respond to what the eyes see. The sound of the melon or of the jackfruit or whatever it is that you're eating, if you pay attention to it, you'll eat totally differently and you'll chew more. When you chew, you begin to hear the sound. You begin to really very strongly enjoy the textures. You begin to get the actual smell of the food. It stays with you longer because it's still in your mouth. So it's right by your nostrils there. Remember, ear, nose, throat, mouth, eyes, they're all in the same place. So when you chew, all of these are being stimulated and appeased and being nurtured and nourished. And so that is why it's so important that you do things like that. Very, very important. So I see that somebody else has said something. I don't know where that is. Okay, so let me go back to some things that I want to show you. One of the things I want you to think of is that people overeat. So this has nothing to do with feasting. People overeat all the time. People overdrink. People drink alcohol. And but here's the worst part. People mix them both. They drink and eat at the same time. When you drink and eat at the same time, not only have you not chewed your food, but also you're now bringing a liquid in, and the food has not been digested yet, but liquids they bypass the stomach. So now there's all this food sitting in your stomach. You have all this liquid pressing on it, and it's no longer wonder why people have so much gas and gastrointestinal problems, and they are bloated all the time. So when one fasts, one begins to see the microcosm of the world rather than the macrocosm. And we begin to see ourselves, we see the connection between us and every other living being. When you fast enough, but it doesn't happen the first time. For some people, it does happen the first time, but it depends on how long you're fasting and if you're having any kind of physical ailments or not. So what we do in regular life with food and drink is we go into this media induced coma. We sit in front of a TV or a computer screen, or we go to a movie and we just stuff ourselves. I call that media induced coma. And we're no longer present for ourselves. We're not just not present for ourselves, but we're not present for our internal the internal life that goes on inside. So I actually had wanted at one point, somebody had said to me, they wanted to make a movie with me on me. And I said, no, you don't want to do my life, but why don't we do a movie on the internal world of digestion? Follow what happens when you look at something first, like a piece of fruit that you really love, or people love cakes or ice cream. What happens internally? And then when you smell it, what happens? And then when you chew it, and when it goes down, and just follow the whole history of it from outside into the mouth and through the body throughout, and then afterwards we expel whatever is left over through the anus. And we should do something like that. Well, he looked at me and he thought I was nuts. I don't think I was nuts at all. I think we need things like that. And I wish we would have cartoons like that as well. In fact, I know somebody who does animation. I'm going to see if he will do something like that as well. So this is information that is meant for you to really look at your life and see if you could really upgrade it a little bit. And the quickest way to upgrade, and I have seen this time after time after time, is by fasting. Because when we fast, again by Tony Evans, we're saying that the cry of our souls, the part of ourselves that is most starving for our time and our attention, is greater than the cry of our stomach. So you do not know how much time you spend around food, preparing, thinking of it, eating it, cleaning it up until you fast. You have so much time left during a day. It's amazing how much time you now have for yourself and to do other things. If you always wanted to paint something, or to sculpt, or to go to dance, or learn to tango, all of a sudden you have time for all of these pursuits, because you're no longer completely and totally enmeshed in what to eat next, how to eat it, where to eat it, when to eat it. It's just the most freeing and liberating feeling ever. So there's lots of highs to fasting. Now there's some lows. Some people crash and burn because they don't know what they're doing, and they're doing it too quickly, and they're probably dry fasting as well, or because they're ill. They're very, very ill. Now, or they might be on medication. If you're on medication, I would not be fasting. I'd go to a fasting center and see the doctors there and have them, or the medical professionals, and have them recommend what to do, when to do, and how to do it. And if possible, check yourself in there as well, because that is really, really important. When you leave the fast and you come out of the fast and you're going back to feasting, think of feasting with things like this. Think of things strange from the earth. Remember, I said to you before that we need to create a symbiotic relationship with nature, because our relationship with nature is one-sided. So I strongly recommend that you really start out, when you come off, with fruit, and that you start really playing with eating maybe just one food at a time and just gradually reintroduce food back into the body. But I want you to think of something. Think of yourself when you were a baby. You ate instinctively. You didn't eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner at 7, 8 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 5, 6 o'clock. No, you ate instinctively if you're allowed to. That's what fasting will help you to do, to go back to that place where you start eating instinctively and where you do not eat while there's a lot of stuff still in your system. And you're trying to push it out by putting more in. So it's like having a garbage disposal unit that's clogged up. And instead of emptying it out, which is what fasting does, you just put more things in and you're pushing it down, pushing it down. That's what most of us are taught to do because we're in this what I call media induced coma. Because when you look at media, they're always feasting. There's always so much going on. There's always people who are eating things, and I'm coming to the comments next, that should not be eating them in this order or like this, nor should they be eating this. This is not even eating. The person isn't even present for this. So this is what I call about media induced coma. This is what people are taught to do, because you see films and all sort of things where people are doing this all the time, and it's totally acceptable. When you come off from fasting, if you find yourself really being attracted suddenly to a glass of Asian pear juice, or to simply just breathing deeply when you pick up a fruit or an herb like cilantro or dill, and you find yourself being totally hypnotized by the scents and the smells, oh, that's seventh heaven to me. And that's one of the things that I look forward to after fast. So the comment here is, Ethan, what do you think is the best fruit to move the lymphatic system and filtration of lymph? Actually, filtration happens in the kidneys. Oh, sorry, and filtration of lymph by the kidneys. Okay. Or top three best fruits for that purpose and to get true eye color to show. Okay, you cannot get true eye color to show unless, of course, you have pretty much dealt with all the sulfur that's in your body. But that is not you. Rather than, you see, what you're looking at here for looking here. What I'm seeing here is that you're looking for outcome. I don't teach people to focus on outcome, but to focus on the process. If you really want to get more involved in being aware of the sulfur in your body and you would like to start releasing it, what I suggest you do is you fast from everything little by little, not suddenly, that has a lot of sulfur in it first. And what I think is the best fruit to move the lymph? Well, definitely, I would say grapes, especially. I just forgot the name of the grapes, Muscat grapes. I can't remember the name now of the grapes, but grapes, definitely. All the melons, the berries, yes, but specifically grapes, definitely. And of course the melons, but I would not mix any of them at all with each other. If I remember the name of these grapes, I will tell you before we finish here. So let's look at something else here that I wanted to show you. And it's interesting because progress is so much progress is made after we begin fasting on a regular basis. The amount of progress we make in our lives in so many different fields. I'm not just talking about in getting to know ourselves and releasing illness and diseases from our bodies. And to me, illness and diseases means also aggravation and irritation and anxiety. But look at this from George Bernard. Progress is impossible without change. And those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. This is the hardest thing to do about fasting. You've got to change your perception of yourself. So you've got to change your own mindset, your belief systems about yourself. Don't see yourself as something that needs to be changed. Don't see yourself as a person who is healing. So rather than think, Ethan, of getting rid of sulfur in your body, talk to the sulfur, welcome it, because it got your attention. That was your greatest gift, was that sulfur. So don't try to make it an enemy of yours, but rather just let it know it's time for you to go. You've gotten my attention. I now realize what's going on here. Thank you, thank you. And you may go now. Thank you very much. So it's, we tend to want to go from one identity to another. And it's important not to just focus on one thing that we want to stop or change. Don't change anything about yourself. Change the way you perceive yourself. That's what needs to be changed, is the way we perceive ourselves. So here's from Shannon Adler. It's not until you change your identity to match your life blueprint that you will understand why everything in the past never worked. What does this mean? Well, we came in and we were identified as babies. Then we were identified as children. Then we were identified as teenagers, then as adults, then as all these different things that were never any of those, because we're still a baby in many different ways. That baby never left us. That child never left us. That teenager is still there. We just have to unearth it and unleash it again. So try not to get caught up in an identity of, I am diabetic, I have cancer. No, you're not diabetic. You're experiencing diabetes. That's why I said change your perception of yourself. Do not become the disease. Do not use it as an identity title. Use it instead as a gift. That's all it is. It's just a gift. Just like fasting is the greatest gift. Look at all animals in the wild. When they're ill, let's say an animal goes to a watering hole and it was contaminated and they get really ill. You know what they do? They sit down, they lie down, and they fast. What do? We got to get this out, got to get this out, got to get this out. And we start taking things. What herbs could I take? What vitamins? What da, go to the doctor, get injections, get this, get that, rather than just quietening the body and say, oops, didn't realize that water was contaminated. Okay, body, do your stuff and just let it do what it knows to do. Let the body do what it knows to do. That's all we have to do. It's that simple. So one of the things that I want you to take away from today, from here, is I'm going to put this up right now. I just need to find where I've put this. One of the things that I need you to really think about is that you are not your thoughts. The thoughts that you inherited from your parents, from society, from a radio show, from a TV show, from a movie, those are somebody else's thoughts. So as Rumi said, put your thoughts to sleep. Do not let them cast a shadow over the moon of your heart. Let go of thinking. We overthink too much. We cannot think ourselves into being healthy. Remember that. We cannot think ourselves into being healthy. That's why we need to fast from thinking as well. It's not just from food. We overthink. But it's easier to fast from thinking when the internal body is no longer churning, trying to digest things and recalibrate what to do with this toxin and what to do with that. Just give everything a break, give it all a rest, get some quiet time, some soothing, nurturing time for yourself, and let the body take over and do what it needs to do and what it knows to do naturally. Do get assistance with it, because you might have an illness that you don't even realize that it's gotten out of control, and then you get really sick from fasting. So that's why I say I only recommend supervised fasting until you're really adept with it. And so and I want you to remember there's no such thing as juice fasting, because you are getting so many nutrients, then you're flooding your body with a lot of nutrients. That is juice feasting, which, yes, I highly recommend to my clients. In fact, I have them do juice feasting before we do a fast, because they need to be well hydrated. Never enter a fast if you're not well hydrated. Never, 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 ever. So life itself is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Do not resist your body changing. So if your body says disease, I need you to pay attention. I'm going to create a disease so you can see it. Don't resist it. That only leads and creates sorrow. Let reality be reality. Let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like. And this is Lao Tzu, of course. I quote Lao Tzu a lot, a lot, because I just love what he says. It's so practical. It's just right where you need him. And I want you to think about this again. Really take this away today. Life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Don't resist the changes, not in your body, not in the outer world, and not in your thoughts, because that only creates sorrow, because it's the resistance of the change that creates the sorrow. So let reality be reality, accept it whether you like it or not. If you don't like it, that's fine, but accept it and let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like. Because in the end, the only person you can control is yourself. So rather than try to control an illness, a disease, and out somebody else in your life, your circumstances, why don't you focus on fasting from all of the things that obstruct you from being your true self? That's so important. Silence is the greatest fast. I think every Saturday, I live all week just to go to Saturday, that day of just pure inner silence. Nothing is churning in my digestive system, because I start the actual water fasting on Fridays, so that by the time Saturday comes, there's nothing else left to go through my body. And the last meal is always fruit anyway. So it goes through my body really fast. And then I just have to focus on the other kinds of fasting that I do, which is the silence, which is the internal acknowledgement of self, of the connection that I am not by myself in this world, that we live in this huge, magnificent universe. There's no place in the world, in this universe, that we can go and be alone. Think about it. You can't go into the forest and being alone. Do you know how many beings are in the forest? You can't even go outside your door and be alone. You might step on an ant. You're not alone in this world. But if you feel alone, it's because you've never been with yourself. You're lonely for yourself. And that's what fasting brings. And that is why I focus so much in my book, Being Healthy, which, by the way, was just released on Amazon. This is the companion, this podcast to the book, Being Healthy. And I just finished a course that people can take, which will be in the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle, which is coming out very soon on the 1st of May. So I think that's only available for about 50 days, 11 days or 10 days. And that actual course it's an expensive course, because it's a thorough course. It's $297. But when you get the bundle, you buy for $50, you get my course and a lot of other books and recipes and whatnot. So be on the lookout for that as well. In the meantime, if anybody has any last minute questions, I will answer them now. And if you don't have any last minute questions, join us next week, because next week I'm going to having a guest host, Mariah. I don't know if you all know Mariah Maza. She will be here with us. She was actually meant to be here today as a guest host, but guess what? She is fasting because she got ill. And of course, when you get ill, the first thing you do is you fast. Let the body do what the body knows to do. And that is what we need to do. So she'll be here next week with us, and she will be going to some other areas of the physiology of fasting that I did not do today. And she's going to be going into it from the terrain model. So, which is really something which I think everybody needs to know about. So I'm going to leave with something from Khalil Gibran, who said, if your heart is a volcano, how shall you expect flowers to bloom? So if you have a lot of turmoil internally from the problems of digestion and absorption, and everything is just so tight and so pushed in and smashed into your body, because there's no space in your body, there's no spaciousness for life to happen in your body, and so your body is revolting, you have a volcano going on if you are having a problem with the digestion and assimilation and excretion. You need to just take a break from pushing anything else on internally. And by the way, anything you put on your hair and on your skin also goes inside the body. So you might want to fast for some of those things as well. For example, every Saturday when I fast, I only use argan oil on my hair, my face, my whole body, or castor oil. So be very, very careful about that. And I see there's a comment. Let me bring this up. Oh, Shannon, thank you for the lovely time. Very grateful. Oh, I love gratitude so much. My whole life is centered around gratitude. You know, when I leave the earth, my whole intention is that people will say, thank you. Not, oh, I'm so sorry she left. Oh my God, she went, she left, she's not here anymore. No, 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 no. I want people to say, she was here. Thank you. So, Shannon, thank you so very, very much. And I appreciate what you just said here. And Ethan, do you need anything else answered? Did I answer your questions for you? Just let me know before we go. And if not, then bring it anything that comes up during the week that you want to talk about next week. Let's bring that up. And Shannon, tonight, before you retire, wherever you are, I don't know in what hemisphere you are right now, so southern or northern hemisphere. Before you go to bed tonight, Shannon, please say, thank you from me to you. Hear it. Hear the universe whispering in your ears. Thank you, Shannon. That's me saying thank you to you. So, everyone, see you next week, same place, same time. Thank you for showing up today. Now, show up for yourself this week. Bye for